Sneaking in is easy, until it absolutely isn't. This video is a parade of confidence with zero talent. People who thought a costume, a box, a fake badge, or pure audacity would get them past security. Spoiler, it didn't. These are 101 of the dumbest, boldest, and most embarrassing sneak-in attempts ever caught on the spot, often by people who didn't even break a sweat catching them. 1. You don't need athletic talent to join the NBA All-Star game, apparently just a stolen tracksuit. Barry Bremen famously walked right onto the court in 1979, wearing a Kansas City Kings uniform and blended in like he belonged. He even got a few shots up during warm-ups before anyone realized he was a total imposter. Fake it till security notices. 2. A car seat isn't supposed to sweat. Border Patrol agents were confused when they touched a passenger seat and felt a human pulse through the fabric. A man had literally sewn himself inside the upholstery to cross the border. He was folded up like a cheap lawn chair, proving that being part of the furniture is a terrible travel strategy. 3. If you're going to impersonate a Lufthansa pilot to get a free upgrade, maybe don't wear a uniform with mismatched buttons. Rajan Mahbubani tried to bluff his way past security in a costume that looked like he bought it at a discount party store. Actual pilots spotted him instantly because, shockingly, they know what their own coworkers look like. 4. Luggage usually doesn't have a heartbeat. Police at a train station became very suspicious when a massive pink suitcase started wiggling across the floor on its own. They unzipped it to reveal a 19-year-old boyfriend folded up inside to dodge a train fare. He saved $5 on a ticket but lost a lifetime of dignity. 5. Standing perfectly still doesn't make you invisible, even if you really hope it does. A burglar in a department store tried to freeze next to the plastic mannequins when the cops showed up. It might have worked if he wasn't wearing a hoodie next to models in suits, and if he didn't blink when the flashlight hit his face. Nice try, statue. 6. Quarantine drove everyone crazy, but one man took social distancing too far by camping on Disney World's abandoned Discovery Island. He told police he didn't see the multiple "no trespassing" signs he climbed over to reach his tropical paradise. He called it a camping trip. Disney security called it a lifetime ban. Mickey sees all. 7. A KFC sandwich usually contains chicken, not a reptile. A man in China tried to board a flight with his beloved pet turtle hidden inside a burger bun. He thought the X-ray machine would just see mayonnaise and lettuce, not a full skeleton. Security confiscated the burger, and the turtle definitely didn't get his frequent flyer miles. 8. Benjamin Button is a movie, not a travel hack. A young man boarded a flight to Canada wearing a silicone mask to look like a fragile senior citizen. The plan fell apart when he went to the bathroom mid-flight and emerged 30 years younger because the mask was too hot. Border agents were waiting for him on the runway. 9. Walking backwards doesn't trick the Border Patrol, it just makes you look like an idiot. Smugglers tried to cross the desert in reverse, thinking their footprints would look like they were walking the other way. They forgot that agents can track fresh prints regardless of direction. Evolution weeps. 10. Two guys thought a high-vis vest and a ladder were the keys to the universe. They walked confidently toward the Super Bowl entrance posing as maintenance workers. It actually worked at the first gate, but they got stopped at the second one when security realized nobody orders a ladder delivery during the first quarter. Confidence only gets you halfway there. 11. A baby bump shouldn't sound like a juice box. A woman tried entering a music festival with a hollowed-out watermelon strapped to her stomach, completely filled with vodka. Security grew suspicious when she started tapping her belly like a keg instead of rubbing it affectionately. When asked for a due date, she realized you can't give birth to a cocktail. 12. Dashboards are for speedometers and GPS, not human passengers. Border agents in Spain were stunned to find a migrant contorted behind the instrument panel of a BMW. He was squeezed between the scorching engine and the glove box like a mechanic's worst nightmare. One speed bump, and he would have been the world's most painful airbag. 13. You can literally rewrite reality with a smartphone and zero shame. A fan named Pekka sneaked backstage at a concert by editing the band's Wikipedia page while standing in line. He added himself as a family member and showed security the screen. The guard bought it immediately because apparently the internet is incapable of lying. 14. Cartoon logic rarely survives in the real world. Two teenagers actually attempted the classic two kids in a trench coat trick to see an R-rated movie. One sat on the other's shoulders, wobbling around like a drunk giant with terrible posture. The ticket seller wasn't fooled by the 7-foot man with a vibrating torso and baby face. 15. Getting a hotel reservation is hard, so Michael Fagan just broke into Buckingham Palace. He climbed a drain pipe, shimmied through a window, and wandered the halls until he found the Queen's bedroom. He actually sat on her bed while she slept. It remains the most terrifying, yet strangely polite wake-up call in royal history. 16. Some vehicles are built for stealth, others for pure comedy. Reza Bellucci tried to sneak across the ocean to Bermuda in a giant homemade hamster wheel. He wasn't exactly flying under the radar while running inside a floating plastic bubble. The Coast Guard had to rescue him from his own bad idea, proving determination doesn't equal physics. 17. Becoming a human sandcastle is a terrible border strategy. A man tried to crawl across a beach border by covering his back with sand, moving inch by inch. He looked less like a ninja and more like a migrating dune. Security just watched the beach slowly crawl toward them and arrested him. Turns out, stealth is harder when you're literally the terrain. 18. If you carry something with enough confidence, the world just opens up. A group of guys walked right into a major concert carrying a giant pane of glass. Security assumed they were workers because nobody is stupid enough to bring a window to a mosh pit. Confidence is a dangerous, effective drug. 19. Most people dream of breaking out of prison, not breaking in. A drunk man in Germany climbed an 18-foot wall and navigated razor wire just to visit his incarcerated friend. The guards were baffled to find a civilian fighting to get into jail. He was arrested for trespassing, so technically his plan worked perfectly. 20. Halloween masks are for candy, not escaping maximum security. A Brazilian gang leader tried to walk out of jail wearing a silicone girl mask and his daughter's pink t-shirt. He was walking like a linebacker in skinny jeans. Guards made him strip the disguise on camera, instantly destroying his street cred forever. 21. Airplanes are not yellow taxis. You can't just flag them down. A man in Madrid missed his boarding call, kicked open the fire doors, and sprinted across the tarmac, chasing a moving Boeing 737. He didn't catch the plane, but he did catch a tackle from ground security. His new destination was a holding cell. 22. Planning ahead is good, but burying yourself alive is psychotic. A festival fan dug a hole on the grounds a week before the event and waited underground for the gates to open. Security dogs found him dehydrated and covered in dirt before the first band even played. That is a level of dedication to bass that needs therapy. 23. Piñatas are supposed to be light and filled with candy. A woman tried to cross the border with a massive donkey piñata that didn't rattle. Agents cracked it open and found rolls of cash and drugs instead of sugary treats. It was the saddest, most expensive birthday party reveal of all time. 24. A warm pizza box is the skeleton key to the city. A prankster walked into a high-security film set just by holding a Domino's bag and looking confused. Guards held the door for him, assuming he was feeding the crew. The box was empty, just like the security protocols that day. 25. Wearing a dress doesn't make you a bishop. A man tried to sneak into a secret Vatican meeting by wearing a shortened cassock and a fedora. He shook hands with cardinals until the Swiss guard noticed his sash was actually a gym scarf. Divine intervention couldn't save his terrible fashion sense or his dignity. 26. Traffic jams make people do desperate things, but creating a fake family is a step too far. A driver tried to cheat the HOV carpool lane by belting a plastic skeleton into the passenger seat. He even dressed it in a hoodie and put cool sunglasses on the skull to make it look casual. The plan fell apart when a cop noticed the passenger looked a bit too pale and hadn't moved a muscle in 20 miles. 27. Mission Impossible looks easy on TV, but real life has gravity. A man tried to sneak into a movie theater by crawling through the air conditioning vents in the ceiling to avoid buying a ticket. The ventilation duct couldn't support the weight of a grown man, and he crashed right through the ceiling tiles, landing in the middle of the concession stand. He wanted a free movie, but he ended up buying a new roof. 28. A crying baby on a plane is annoying, but a meowing one is terrifying. A woman on a Delta flight was caught breastfeeding a hairless cat wrapped in a blanket. She had sneaked the animal on board by claiming it was her support baby and refusing to let flight attendants see its face. When the baby started hissing at the beverage cart, the crew realized that swaddling clothes don't turn a feline into a human. 29. A good night's sleep usually doesn't involve border control. Agents stopped a van carrying a mattress on its roof, which seemed normal until they noticed the mattress was sagging in a very human shape. Someone had hollowed out the foam and stuffed a woman inside the bedding like a human sandwich. It was an incredibly uncomfortable way to travel, and she woke up in a holding cell instead of a bedroom. 30. You need an invite for a wedding, but apparently not for the White House. Tarek and Mikhail Salahi famously crashed a state dinner by simply walking past the Secret Service with confidence and a smile. They shook hands with President Obama and drank expensive wine before anyone realized they weren't on the list. It was the biggest security breach in years, proving that if you wear a tuxedo and act like you belong, nobody questions you. 31. Playing doctor is a game for toddlers, not for teenagers in Florida. Malachi Love Robinson was just 18 when he opened a medical clinic and started treating real patients. He walked around with a stethoscope and a lab coat, sneaking into the medical profession purely on charisma and lies. He was eventually caught when he tried to treat an undercover cop for stomach pain. Turns out, watching Grey's Anatomy doesn't actually count as a medical degree. 32. Laundry day took a weird turn at the border crossing. Police stopped a truck carrying used appliances and noticed a washing machine that seemed heavier than the others. They opened the door and found a man curled up inside the drum, praying the spin cycle wouldn't start. He had been hiding in there for hours, inhaling detergent fumes and regretting every life choice that led him to become human laundry. 33. Swedish meatballs are addictive, but they aren't worth a felony. The IKEA challenge went viral when teenagers started sneaking into the stores and hiding in the wardrobes until after closing time. They filmed themselves having sleepovers in the showrooms, thinking it was harmless fun. The fun stopped when the silent alarms tripped and police arrived to find kids building forts in the bedding department. 34. When tickets to the Glastonbury Music Festival sold out, one fan decided to drop in from the sky. He used a paramotor to fly over the massive security fences, dropping flares as he descended like a low-budget action hero. It was an epic entrance until he realized he had no idea where to land. He crashed into a secure area and was immediately grabbed by security, who were more impressed than angry. 35. Nature is beautiful until the bushes start sneezing. A man tried to cross a river border by wearing a full ghillie suit, looking exactly like a floating pile of weeds. He drifted slowly with the current, hoping to blend in with the vegetation. Border Patrol agents were watching him the entire time on thermal cameras, wondering why that specific bush had a body heat signature of 98 degrees. 36. Art critics can be harsh, but this disguise was just weird. A man sneaked into the Louvre Museum dressed as an elderly woman in a wheelchair, complete with a wig and lipstick. He wasn't there to admire the art. He jumped up and smeared cake all over the glass protecting the Mona Lisa. He claimed it was a protest for the planet, but mostly it just confused a room full of tourists. 37. The bass usually hits hard, but not this hard. A music fan tried to sneak into a club by hiding inside a large speaker box while the equipment was being loaded in. He endured the bumpy truck ride, but the real trouble started when the DJ plugged in and started the sound check. Security found him when the subwoofer started screaming in pain. He was deaf for a week, but at least he felt the rhythm. 38. Cruises are supposed to be all-inclusive, but you still have to pay to get on the boat. A man tried to sneak onto a luxury cruise ship by climbing the mooring ropes like a pirate in the middle of the night. He made it to the deck, but was immediately spotted by the bridge crew on CCTV. He spent the entire vacation locked in the ship's brig before being handed over to police at the next port. 39. A backpack is for books, not for primates. A man broke into a zoo and tried to sneak a squirrel monkey out by stuffing it into his bag. He thought he could just walk out the front gate, but he forgot that monkeys have teeth and very bad tempers. The monkey started screeching and biting him from inside the bag, alerting every security guard within a mile. He left in handcuffs. The monkey left with a story. 40. Apple Store employees are helpful, but they usually catch on when you fake it. A guy put on a blue t-shirt and just started working at an Apple Store, hoping to grab some free merch in the confusion. He actually helped customers for an hour, recommending products he knew nothing about. He was caught when he tried to walk into the break room and asked a manager where the free iPhones were kept. 41. Airline baggage fees are a scam, but heat stroke is a very real medical condition. A member of a Scottish boy band collapsed mid-flight because he was wearing all of his clothes at once to avoid paying $40 for a checked bag. He had on 12 layers of shirts and 6 pairs of pants, looking like a sweaty Michelin man. The paramedics had to peel him like an onion just to find his pulse. 42. Music festivals check your backpack, but they rarely check your lunch. A genius, or perhaps an alcoholic, tried to sneak a bottle of vodka into a stadium by hiding it inside a hollowed-out baguette sandwich. It was the perfect crime until security squeezed the bread to check for freshness and felt a glass bottle instead of ham and cheese. Now he has a soggy sandwich and a sobriety check. 43. If you want to see a boxing match, buy a ticket, don't drop in from the sky. The famous Fan Man used a powered paraglider to fly directly into the ring during the Holyfield heavyweight title fight. He crashed into the ropes, tangled in his chute, and was immediately pummeled by the boxer's security teams and the angry crowd. It was the only time in history the audience beat up the entertainment. 44. Cats are great companions, but they make terrible drug mules. Guards at a prison in Brazil noticed a white cat wandering through the main gate with a weirdly bulky body. They caught the feline and found a custom-made vest strapped to its belly, filled with drill bits, files, and a cell phone. The cat was released to a local shelter, presumably to live a life of crime-free luxury, while the inmates lost their furry smuggler. 45. Strollers are for toddlers, not for grown women trying to save on admission fees. Security at Disney World stopped a family pushing a stroller that was clearly struggling under the weight of a full-sized adult covered by a blanket. The baby was wearing size 9 sneakers and holding an iPhone. When the guard pulled back the cover, the woman just smiled, proving that some people never grow up, they just get heavier. 46. Santa Claus makes going down a chimney look easy, but for a burglar, it's a grease-covered nightmare. A thief in California tried to enter a business through the roof vent, but got wedged tight in the metal shaft. He spent hours screaming for help until fire crews arrived to lube him up with dish soap and slide him out like a human cork. He left in handcuffs, smelling like lemon detergent and soot. 47. The Trojan horse worked for the Greeks, but a cardboard box didn't work for 2 guys in Australia. They tried to sneak into a music festival by hiding inside a large box labeled stage lighting. They had their friends carry them to the entrance, but security got suspicious when the box started giggling and asked to be put down. It turns out, packages usually don't have a sense of humor or a bladder control problem. 48. Baggage carousels are one-way tickets to the tarmac, not a secret entrance. A man at an international airport dived through the rubber curtains of the luggage chute, thinking he could sprint to his plane. Instead, he got tumbled around on the high-speed belts, scanned by X-rays, and dumped into a sorting room full of confused handlers. He wanted a shortcut. He got a bruised ego and a very expensive conversation with airport security. 49. Sewer systems are full of rats and waste, yet some people think they lead to the front row. A group of fans tried to sneak into a sold-out rock concert by crawling through the storm drains under the stadium. They got lost in the labyrinth of pipes and popped up through a manhole in the middle of the parking lot, covered in sludge, right in front of a police cruiser. The smell alone was enough probable cause for arrest. 50. Impersonating a doctor is bad, but impersonating a generic inspector is just lazy. A man walked into a restricted government facility holding a clipboard, wearing a high-vis vest, and frowning at everything. He didn't even have a fake ID, just a piece of paper that said, "Inspection in progress." He made it past the front desk, but was stopped when he tried to inspect the cafeteria's cash register. 51. Hiding in a store until it closes is a classic teenager move, but picking a 24-hour store is a math error. A guy tried to hide in the ceiling tiles of a Walmart to steal electronics after closing, forgetting the store never actually closes. He fell through the drop ceiling into the chips aisle at 3 a.m., landing right in front of a night crew that barely looked surprised. It rained plaster, dust, and one very confused criminal. 52. Scuba diving is for coral reefs, not for crossing international borders. A smuggler tried to swim across a river border using cheap scuba gear he bought online. He didn't account for the strong current or the fact that his air bubbles were creating a visible trail on the water's surface. Border Patrol just followed the bubbles with a boat and waited for him to surface like a tired, wet seal. 53. If you're going to fake a VIP pass, maybe don't use crayons. A fan tried to enter the backstage area of a rap concert wearing a laminate badge that was clearly homemade. It had the wrong date, the wrong tour name, and a picture of the artist that looked like it was printed on a potato. The bouncer didn't even get mad. He just laughed and kept the badge as a souvenir of stupidity. 54. Vending machines are tight spaces, yet people still try to live inside them. A thief tried to hide inside a large soda machine to wait for the store to lock up. He managed to squeeze in through the service door but got his belt loop stuck on the dispensing mechanism. He spent the entire night pinned against the glass, staring at bags of chips he couldn't reach, on display for the morning shift like a prize nobody wanted to win. 55. Wearing the team uniform only works if you actually look like an athlete. A prankster ran onto the field during a Premier League soccer match in a full kit, trying to blend in for a free kick. He might have pulled it off if he wasn't wearing dress shoes and holding a beer. The referee noticed the 12th man immediately, and the player was given a red card and a ban before he could even touch the ball. 56. Dumpsters are for trash, not for club entry. A guy hid inside a garbage bin outside a nightclub, waiting for staff to roll him inside the gates. Instead, the garbage truck arrived early and lifted the whole thing like it was taking out yesterday's bad decisions. He got discovered fast, smelling like regret, and still didn't get into VIP. 57. If you fake a disability, don't forget you're faking it. A man rolled into a sold-out football stadium in a wheelchair to score a handicap seat. When his team scored a touchdown, he jumped up and cheered. The Jumbotron camera caught the miracle, live in 4K. 80,000 people booed him back into his seat. 58. Riding under a bus is an action movie trope, not a commute. A man tried to sneak across a border by clinging to the underside of a tourist bus carriage. He held on for 50 miles of dust, exhaust, and terror. When the bus finally stopped, he dropped to the pavement shaking like a broken phone on vibrate. Border agents didn't even have to chase him. 59. Construction paper is not a valid wristband. A teenager tried to enter a festival with a homemade pass drawn in neon marker, and it looked like a kindergarten permission slip. The bouncer didn't get mad. He laughed, kept it, and told the kid to come back when his arts and crafts phase ends. 60. Fences are designed to catch things, usually pants. A guy tried to hop the gate at a music venue, but his jeans got snagged on the spikes. He was left dangling upside down by his ankles, exposing his underwear to the entire line of people waiting to get in. The fire department had to cut him down while the crowd applauded his humiliation. 61. Carrying an instrument case implies you can play music. A guy tried to walk backstage claiming he was the bassist, carrying a cello case. Security asked him to open it for a check. Inside was a six-pack of beer and a change of clothes. He couldn't play a note, but he definitely played himself. 62. QR codes are unique. A screenshot from Google Images is not. A woman tried to scan a blurry, pixelated ticket on her phone and got rejected instantly. She stood there arguing with the scanner like it was being rude on purpose, while the line behind her formed a hostile crowd. Trying to hack a system with a JPEG is pure chaos. 63. Hiding in a clothing rack works for 5-year-olds, not adults. A thief stayed in a department store after closing by burying himself in a rack of winter coats. He fell asleep and started snoring loudly. The night guard found a pile of jackets breathing heavily. He was woke up by handcuffs, not an alarm clock. 64. The "I know the DJ" excuse is the oldest lie in the book. A guy tried to breeze past a bouncer claiming he was the headliner's cousin. The bouncer radioed the DJ, who said he was an only child. The guy was escorted away, proving that lying about your family tree only works if the other person isn't on the radio. 65. Turnstiles only spin one way for a reason. A commuter tried to moonwalk through an exit gate to avoid paying the fare. He timed it wrong and the metal bars clamped down on his waist, pinning him instantly. He spent 40 minutes trapped like a rat in a trap while hundreds of paying customers walked past and laughed. 66. Pretending to be a statue requires discipline you don't have. A guy tried to sneak into a private garden party by posing as a bronze sculpture. He held the pose until a waiter offered him a shrimp canapé, and he broke character so fast it should have been timed. Security walked him out while he chewed. 67. Air ducts are not water slides. A man tried to drop into a bank vault through the ventilation shaft like he was starring in an action movie. He got stuck at a 90-degree turn and started yelling loud enough to trigger the quiet part of the alarm system. Fire crews had to cut open the ductwork to get him out, turning his stealth mission into a very public renovation project. 68. If you wear a staff shirt, make sure it's the right color. A guy put on a red polo to sneak into an event where all the actual employees were wearing black. He stuck out like a sore thumb. He even tried to give orders to real security guards, who just looked at his shirt and then looked at the exit. 69. Hiding inside a rug is for cartoons. A burglar rolled himself up inside a large Persian carpet in a warehouse, planning to pop out later. Workers thought the rug looked lumpy and decided to stack heavy boxes on top of it. He had to scream to avoid being crushed, revealing that the rug was actually a screaming human burrito. 70. Never try to sneak into a zoo enclosure, ever. A man jumped the fence to get a closer look at the ostriches, thinking they were just big chickens. He quickly learned that ostriches are dinosaurs with feathers. The birds chased him back over the fence, pecking at his dignity and his backside. Nature always wins. 71. A teenager handed a bouncer an ID belonging to a 45-year-old man with a full lumberjack beard. The kid was clean-shaven, weighed 100 pounds soaking wet, and looked about 12. He claimed he just shaved and went on a keto diet over the weekend. The bouncer didn't just reject him. He kept the ID and told the kid to come back when he finally hits puberty. 72. 3 guys tried to squeeze into a Honda Civic trunk to sneak into a drive-in movie theater. They forgot that cars have suspension limits. The vehicle was riding so low that sparks were literally flying off the rear bumper on the asphalt. Security didn't even open the trunk, they just pointed at the scraping muffler and told the driver to pay up or turn around. 73. A guy tried to walk into a VIP backstage area holding a cheap gas station bouquet, claiming to be floral delivery. The problem was, he showed up in flip-flops, board shorts, and a tank top, like he was delivering flowers to a pool party. He got rejected instantly for having zero professionalism and negative taste. 74. A man scaled a 10-foot wall to sneak into a concert, landing triumphantly on the other side like an acrobat. He didn't check Google Maps, so he didn't realize the wall was the perimeter for the police station next to the venue. He literally broke into a police station yard full of cops. That is an accidental 5-star wanted level. 75. A small man crawled up the prize chute of an arcade claw machine to steal the cash box. He got inside, but the anti-theft gate locked behind him immediately. He spent the entire night curled up on plush toys, staring at disappointed kids through the glass until the fire department cut him out. He was officially the worst prize ever won. 76. A woman wore a fake plaster cast to skip the massive line at a theme park. It worked perfectly until a sudden Florida rainstorm hit the queue. The cast was made of paper mache and toilet paper, and it started dissolving into a gray mush right on her leg. Security watched her medical condition literally wash away into the drain. 77. A wedding crasher tried to hide under the head table when the bride's father started asking too many questions. He thought he was safe until the groom stretched his legs and kicked him directly in the face. Nothing says congratulations to the happy couple like a bloody nose and a trespassing charge before the cake is cut. 78. A prankster ran onto an NBA court dressed as a referee to mess with the game. He looked authentic until he tried to call a foul on LeBron. Real refs have whistles. This guy just screamed "foul" with his mouth like a maniac. The players looked at him like he was insane before security tackled him mid-scream. 79. A fan tried to sneak into a star's hotel room by hiding under the long tablecloth of a room service cart. The waiter noticed the cart was incredibly heavy and had feet sticking out the bottom. Instead of delivering the meal, he wheeled the food straight to the elevator and pushed the button for the lobby. Enjoy the ride down. 80. A guy tried to get into an exclusive club in Seattle by claiming he was Bill Gates' favorite nephew. The bouncer decided to test him and asked what Microsoft's latest product was. The guy panicked and shouted, "The PlayStation." He was laughed off the block faster than the Windows Vista operating system. 81. A shopper tried to army crawl through the automatic exit doors to bypass the Walmart greeter. The motion sensors were aimed at chest height, not floor level, so the doors closed right on his head. He was stuck, face down on the welcome mat, while the automated voice thanked him for shopping over and over again. 82. A party crasher swam a mile to board a billionaire's yacht anchored offshore. He climbed the ladder expecting champagne and models, but found a cleaning crew scrubbing the deck. He stood there, dripping wet in his underwear, while the crew hosed him back into the ocean like a stubborn barnacle attached to the hull. 83. A hotel guest tried to sneak into the kitchen for free food by sliding down a laundry chute. He didn't realize chutes go to the basement, not the buffet line. He landed in a mountain of dirty sheets and got found by a horrified staff member who assumed the linens had started producing people. He wanted free dinner. He got escorted out smelling like detergent and bad choices. 84. A nightclub used a UV hand stamp for re-entry, so a guy tried to replicate it using a yellow highlighter. Under normal light, it looked okay. Under the black light, it looked like a glowing radioactive smudge that said "idiot." The bouncer wasn't impressed by his art skills or his understanding of the light spectrum. 85. A woman claimed her shaking chihuahua was a highly trained seizure alert dog to get into a high-end steakhouse. The service dog immediately peed on the host's shoe and tried to hump a table leg. Real service dogs have dignity. This one just had a tiny bladder and a massive attitude problem. 86. Some criminals are desperate, others are scientifically illiterate. A bank robber in Pittsburgh famously covered his face with lemon juice because he believed it would make him invisible to security cameras, just like invisible ink. He robbed 2 banks in broad daylight, smiling directly at the lens the entire time. When police showed him the footage, he stared in disbelief and whispered, "But I wore the juice." 87. Video games are not real life, no matter how much you play. A man tried to sneak past security cameras in a warehouse by walking around with a cardboard box over his upper body, stopping whenever he thought someone was looking. He looked like a budget version of Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Security watched the walking box for 10 minutes before they went down and arrested him for terminal stupidity. 88. Most people want to leave prison, but this guy tried to get in for the dumbest reason. A man showed up at a prison claiming he was an emergency technician who needed to check the building's outlets because his phone was not charging right. Guards asked for credentials and he proudly handed them a phone screen at 1% battery like it was an ID badge. He didn't find a charger, but he did find security who immediately walked him off the property. 89. Zip lines are for vacations, not for crossing international borders. A drug smuggler tried to slide across the border on a homemade zip line but miscalculated the slack in the rope. He got stuck dead center, dangling 50 feet in the air like a piñata. Border Patrol didn't even have to chase him. They just waited for him to get tired and cry for help. 90. Blending in is an art, and this guy brought crayons to the Louvre. A burglar in a high-end clothing store tried to hide by throwing on an expensive display outfit and standing in the front window like a live mannequin. The plan failed the moment he started breathing heavy and fogged up the glass like a stressed-out aquarium. The officer tapped the window, pointed at the door, and ended the performance. 91. If you're going to dress as a horse, bring a friend who isn't drunk. 2 guys tried to sneak into the VIP paddock at a horse race by wearing a cheap, 2-person pantomime horse costume. They were stopped immediately because racehorses don't wear sneakers and they don't walk on 2 legs while holding a beer. The back half of the horse was also caught pickpocketing people. 92. Mailing yourself is a classic trope, but returns are a hassle. A man shipped himself in a crate to his girlfriend's house to catch her cheating. The address was written illegibly, so the postal service marked the crate "Return to Sender." He spent 3 days in a box only to be delivered back to his own front porch, dehydrated, single, and smelling like a locker room. 93. Being a ghost works in horror movies, not in hotel lobbies. A hotel guest tried to sneak past the front desk to avoid paying his bill by wearing a white bedsheet with eye holes cut out. He tiptoed across the marble floor thinking he was blending in with the ghosts. The night manager just watched the bedsheet walk toward the exit and locked the automatic doors. 94. Movie logic collapses the second it meets real security. A man tried to sneak into a private event by wearing a full green morph suit, convinced he could blend into the background like a special effect. He stood perfectly still against a wall, pretending to be invisible. Security didn't even hesitate. They walked straight up to the floating green human and escorted him out. Turns out, camouflage only works if you're not neon green. 95. Alcohol makes you forget where you live. A drunk man spent an hour breaking into a house, smashing a window, and climbing over broken glass. He successfully snuck inside, sat on the couch, and turned on the TV. Police arrived and informed him that he had just broken into his own house. He was arrested for disturbing the peace and destroying his own living room. 96. Police cars have very specific lights. Duct tape doesn't count. A man tried to sneak into a crime scene by taping red and blue flashlights to the roof of his Honda Civic. He walked up to the detectives and asked for a status report. The real cops noticed that his siren was just him making wee-woo noises with his mouth. Impersonating an officer requires more than just confidence and batteries. 97. Digging a tunnel requires a compass, or at least eyes. A group of prisoners spent months digging a tunnel out of their cell block. They miscalculated the distance and the direction, popping up right in the middle of the guard dog kennel. They emerged from the dirt only to be greeted by 12 angry German shepherds. They voluntarily ran back into the tunnel to hide. 98. Hiding in a porta potty is the rock bottom of stealth. A fugitive running from police dived into a portable toilet at a construction site to hide. The police saw him go in and simply parked a cruiser against the door so it wouldn't open. They left him in there for an hour in the summer heat before moving the car. The smell was punishment enough. 99. Scarecrows are supposed to scare birds, not hide burglars. A thief running across a farm field froze and extended his arms when the police helicopter flew over, trying to look like a scarecrow. The thermal camera clearly showed a glowing, heat-radiating human, standing in a cornfield like an idiot. The pilot announced over the loudspeaker, "The scarecrow is under arrest." 100. Sleeping on the job is bad. Sleeping during a heist is worse. A burglar broke into a mattress store and decided to test the merchandise while looking for the safe. He found the memory foam too comfortable and fell into a deep sleep. The store manager found him the next morning, drooling on a king-sized Tempur-Pedic. He woke up to the police tucking him in with handcuffs. 101. The ultimate stealth fail is documenting your own crime. A social media influencer successfully sneaked into a restricted military base and felt like a genius. He then immediately started a live stream to brag to his followers, geotagging his exact location. Military police didn't even need to look for him. They just watched his stream and drove to the pin on the map. He did it for the likes. He got federal charges. After 101 of these disasters, one uncomfortable truth stands out. Half of these people failed because they were stupid, and the other half failed because security got lucky. So here's the question. People hate answering honestly. Which one of these would you have tried if you were desperate enough? And which one proves that confidence should be a regulated substance? Don't dodge it. Pick the number, explain your logic, and let the comments decide if you're a genius or the next entry on this list. If you stayed till the end, drop a like, subscribe, and understand this now. The people in the next video somehow get even worse.